Sometimes it feels like you're falling behind, like everyone else is moving forward, and you're stuck. Like you're supposed to be better, faster, more certain. But inside, all you feel is tired. You compare, you question, you blame yourself, and once again, quietly plan how to fix it. But what if the answer isn't in becoming better? What if it's in remembering that you were never broken to begin with? That this life isn't a race, but a conversation? Stay till the end. There's a quiet meditation waiting for you to help you hear yourself again. You were never here to pass a test. No one handed you a grading sheet when you were born. No teacher stood over you with a red pen. And yet, somewhere along the way, you began to believe that life is something to get right. You started collecting moments like grades, labeling decisions as good or bad, keeping track of failures like marks on a scoreboard. And every time you felt lost, you whispered the same question: what am I doing wrong? It became the background noise of your life, as if there were a secret rule book you had missed, as if everyone else had the answers, and you were just guessing your way through. You look at your past and see mistakes. You look at others and see progress. You compare, you shrink, you doubt. But what if you've misunderstood the assignment? What if life isn't a problem to solve, but a language to listen to? What if it's not asking for the right choice, but for your full presence inside whatever choice you make? Not perfection, not performance, but raw, unfiltered honesty. What if life is not a test with a grade at the end, but a mirror, reflecting you back to yourself in every moment you're brave enough to look? What if you didn't land here by mistake? What if your soul, long before this lifetime, chose this body, this timeline, this path, for a reason? Not as punishment, not to prove anything, but to remember something it could only remember by living all of this. The mess, the detours, the silence that scared you, the people who broke your heart and the ones who helped you rebuild it, the restless nights, the moments of deep knowing, all of it, part of the map. You weren't meant to figure it all out on the first try. You were meant to feel your way through it, to listen, to fall, to get back up and say, I don't know where this is leading, but I trust that it means something. Because it always means something. Even the repeat lessons, even the closed doors, even the heartbreak you thought you'd healed already. Your life is not a mistake. It's a pattern, a rhythm, a spiral. And every time you circle back, you're not failing. You're deepening. You didn't come here to become good enough. You came here to remember you already are. And sometimes, remembering requires losing the version of you that tried so hard to earn it. Only then can you hear the voice inside. The one that doesn't judge, doesn't rush, doesn't push. It simply says, you're not broken. You're becoming. You look back and wince. I shouldn't have said that. I should have left sooner. I knew better. Why didn't I do better? But what if those regrets aren't signs of failure, but invitations to see deeper? What if the decisions you call wrong were actually the only way your soul could get your attention? Because sometimes clarity doesn't come through wisdom. It comes through collision, through breaking what you thought was stable so that you could finally feel what was true. Your detours were not detours. They were necessary stops, to grieve, to pause, to break down just enough to become more real. You didn't miss your path. You walked it, even when it looked messy, even when it hurt, especially then. because the spiral of life brings you back again, not to punish you, but to deepen you. You return not to repeat, but to reclaim, to say, "This time I see it. This time I choose differently." Not because you failed before, but because now you're ready to hold the truth with softer hands. Mistakes are not proof of brokenness. They are moments when your soul said, "This isn't you. Let's try again. Let's try truer." You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time for the version of you that's finally ready to stop judging the journey and start learning how to bless it. You don't have to keep searching. You don't have to climb higher, push harder, chase longer, because the truth is, you were never meant to arrive anywhere. You were meant to return again and again and again. Return to your breath. Return to your center. Return to that quiet place inside that knows before knowing. This is not a race. This is a rhythm. It's not about being on all the time. It's about remembering, and then forgetting, and then remembering again. And that's okay. That's not failure. That's the pulse of being human. You see, power doesn't come from having it all figured out. It comes from being gentle with yourself when you don't. The most sacred transformation often begins in the moments you feel the most lost, because in that softness, you finally stop trying to fix yourself and begin to feel yourself, to hear what's always been there, to touch the part of you that doesn't need to prove anything anymore. Returning is not dramatic, it's quiet. It happens in a breath, in the pause before you react, in choosing presence over performance, in whispering, "I'm still here." You don't need to become someone else. You only need to remember the parts of you you once hid to survive, and let them breathe again. That's the lesson. Not to be perfect, but to be present. Not to escape who you are, but to come home to her. What if the greatest lesson in this life was never meant to be found in someone else's teaching, but in the softest, most private moments, the ones where you speak to yourself, honestly, gently, when no one else is around to hear. Not when you're performing, not when you're succeeding, but when you feel like you've failed and choose not to abandon yourself. What if the lesson is not to rise above your humanity, but to sink fully into it, to meet your humanness with presence instead of resistance, to stop trying to escape what you feel and start learning how to stay with it, to say, even this belongs, even the doubt, even the fear, even the ache that returns when you least expect it. Healing doesn't always look like light. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like choosing not to run this time, like letting the tears fall without rushing to wipe them away, like whispering to yourself, "I'm still here. I'm still with you." What if nothing in you was ever broken? What if every crack just made room for light to move through? Maybe the pain didn't come to punish you. Maybe it came to open you, to soften the places you'd armored for so long, to show you the truth beneath the noise, the love beneath the fear, the clarity beneath the pressure to always be more. Real growth is not about being unshakable. It's about allowing life to move through you, without closing, without pretending, without leaving yourself behind, to stand in the mess and say, "I don't need to be fixed. I just need to be felt, and I'm learning how." You're not behind. You're not lost. You're not failing. You are walking the exact road your soul chose, step by step, moment by moment. And maybe the most sacred thing you can do in this life is not to try harder or go faster, but to pause, to breathe, to listen, to return. Because this life is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be real. And when you're real, that's enough. So stop asking, am I doing life right? And start asking, how can I return to myself today? Not someday. Not when you're healed. Now just as you are. Because the lesson was never about becoming someone else. It was always about remembering you were enough all along. Close your eyes, let the noise soften. Let the pace slow. There's nowhere you need to be but here. Breathe in slowly, like it's the first breath you've ever taken. And exhale, gently, as if releasing the weight you no longer want to carry. Feel the ground beneath you, it holds you without judgment. The earth never asked you to be perfect, only present. Now ask yourself quietly, not for an answer, but for remembrance. Where am I holding tension? Where am I pretending? What part of me is asking to be seen just as it is? Don't fix, don't analyze, just stay. Stay with yourself like you would stay with someone you love. Whisper inward, I'm not lost. I'm returning to the part of me that never left. And let that be enough.